Good evening and thanks for joining us. Great revenge for the Bobcats, Lieutenant Moses.
Oh, you know what? They got the 2 points needed, and they got some much-needed breathing room, too, from a tough Sherwood Park squad. We'll have more, plus a few extra highlights and tidbits for you coming up in sports.
Looking forward to it. And Gerard, I don't know if it's just because we had to deal with the ridiculous cold yesterday, but today did not seem that bad.
No, it was actually a little warmer today, I must confess. Truth be told, I was out at some points and I probably did not need my earmuffs as much as I needed them yesterday.
Gerard.
Let's see what we're dealing with today there. Okay, minus 19 is where we're sitting pretty at, and it's cleared off ever so well. That's our high temperature today from since about 2 o'clock. Largely a sunny day. In fact, it was quite picturesque, to be quite honest. The wind chill, mind you, to be honest, moved from a minus 38 in the morning across the region up to about a minus 27. The winds we've seen during the course of the day have been west-southwest, sometimes west-northwest, anywhere from 11 and sometimes getting up to about 41 km. Right now, that wind chill is about minus 29. So mainly sunny conditions, and we've cleared off nicely. Clear evening is on the way. There's a high pressure passing over, and it's setting things up nicely for Saturday. We still have snow across the region for Saturday, mind you, and the details of all of that coming up a little later on.
Many Lloydminster residents had a rude awakening this chilly morning. Around 900 people faced a power outage for a little over an hour. At around 7:30 a.m., an industrial vehicle collided with ATCO power facilities at Glennie Nielsen Park. The collision caused a power outage in the downtown core from 48th to 52nd Ave and 45th to 57th Street. Electricity was restored to most residences by 8:40. Those a little closer to the collision had to wait till 10.
With this situation, just with the cold weather, we do also want to extend a thank you to everybody for their patience while we attended to this event.
Kobelka also wants to remind people to keep safe if they do come into contact with power lines.
We ask them to stay in the vehicle, to call our emergency 24-hour line, 1-800-668-5506, so that we can get our trained staff on site and safely remove the people from the vicinity.
The border city is slowly coming out of a cold snap with wind chills hovering in the minus 40s. But according to the Alberta government, there's no set guidelines on when it's too cold for work outside to continue. So despite being in a deep freeze, some can still be told to go to work.
A brutal day in the border city.
We simply try not to do anything outside on a day like today.
And that's the attitude of most outdoor labor companies, despite a lack of legislation.
Basically, if there's any type of a wind blowing when it hits minus 30, you're pretty much required to not be out there working.
Despite having some of the chilliest winters, Alberta is the only province in Canada with no requirements on how cold is too cold to work outside. The Canadian Centre for Health and Occupation has these rules. By its account, when we hit minus 32 with wind over 20 kilometers per hour, outdoor operations should stop. But if Alberta employers think they can get around the lack of legislation in this province, they're wrong.
Companies, employers have an accountability for the health and safety of their workers, whether or not it's explicitly spelled out in our legislation.
Harrison adds employers will be held accountable if anything happens to workers in extreme cold, and cases do happen.
Last year, there were 10 incidents that were serious enough that workers had to take time off from work, and there were another 24 incidents of working in the cold in which they had to modify their work.
But for Alan Kaford, there's no question. His workers will stay out of the cold until it's safe for them to get back on the job.
What's more important, the almighty dollar or the safety of your workers? And I think most of us would choose safety.
Now, if you have been working in extreme cold and do feel that they were unsafe purposes, you are asked to call the Occupational Health and Safety number on your screen. A home invasion in Innisfree has police searching for 2 suspects. 2 men allegedly robbed a residence, then fled the scene. Police say the men could have been traveling in a red pickup truck, which was seen speeding out of Innisfree. RCMP say the crime appears to be targeted, not random. Anyone with information is asked to call the Vermilion RCMP or Crime Stoppers. While Saskatchewan is aiming to cut down surgical wait times, the Saskatchewan Surgical Initiative's goal is to provide all patients with the opportunity to go under the knife within 12 months. The Prairie North region is already ahead of the pack, reporting all surgeries are performed within a year and a whopping 94% in just 3 months. Overall, 96% of surgeries across Saskatchewan are completed within a year's time. Synergy Credit Union has taken the next step in expanding its services in Lloydminster. The company is planning a new office, and on Wednesday night, Synergy heard member input on what the building should have. Emmett Murphy has more.
Synergy Credit Union is anxious to start building on their new property just south of Highway 16, bordering Highway 17. The company is already renting out space at off-site locations to accommodate all their services. The new building will offer significant space relief.
It's all the member-facing services we provide, whether that's regular banking, business banking, wealth management services, everything.
There is no budget, no timetable, and no construction plans have been made. Wednesday's public meeting went a long way to helping with designs, though. Those in attendance re-emphasized the company's interest in an energy-efficient building.
We'll be encouraging people to come to work, either walking, maybe riding bikes, energy-efficient vehicles. We'll have showers in the building for our staff to be able to refresh after getting to work.
Well, I like the fact that they're considering doing the environmental designation. They call it LEED, which I'm not very familiar with, but it sounds interesting and probably wise for the future.
The company plans on renting out space in the new building once it is complete. While Synergy does need a new facility now, Mesmer says they aren't going to rush the process, making sure they hear what its members want.
What do they like? And tell us clearly what those are, so we make sure we try to incorporate those ideas as best we can. And what are the things that they don't like, that we make sure we either change from the way we're doing business today or don't incorporate into the business.
Emmett Murphy, New Camp News.